everybody. Welcome to our second to last Ouchigohan for the year of 2024. I'd like to thank the Japan Society of Boston for always being such fantastic team workers with us, and we're really thrilled to be here again. And we are going to be doing something that was a suggestion from the Japan Society of Boston, from Naoko-san, called Tsukurioki, which is Japanese style food preparation. And I've been reading a little bit about it. And one of the things that makes, and we are going to do some Japanese food tonight, but one of the things that makes it Japanese is what they say is that they prepare all of the food and keep it separate. Okay, it all is kept separate so that when you're ready to put something together, you can just pick and choose and create new meals each time you do it. One of the things I really like that we're doing tonight is we're going to be preparing rice for putting in the freezer. And that was a complete revelation to me. So Joanne and Naoko-san, when I ask a question, if you're able to tell me how many people are raising their hands. Has anybody frozen Japanese rice before?
I'm seeing a few nods, a few hands, but also some people who have never.
Have never, okay. It's such a convenient thing to be able to pull out of the freezer a single serving of rice and put it in the microwave and have it ready in about a minute and a half. You can have it for breakfast, you can make an onigiri for lunch. There are so many different great things that you can do with it. And so today's class, I asked if anybody would like to try using these rice enhancements. These are 7-grain rice enhancements. This is nishiki. This is the one that is kind of most available. I have a bunch of them that you can buy at Japanese markets. Pretty sure I bought them all here. Superfood. So you're adding a lot of different grains like red beans, quinoa, millet, let's see, black rice, which gives it a beautiful purple color, chia seeds, and this enhances the nutritional value of white rice, okay? White rice in itself is quite delicious, could be a little bit healthier, and this is how people tend to enhance it. So can I see a show of hands? Has anybody tried this? Has anyone gone out and bought any of this to try and do with it? Anyone? Do you see anyone?
Sort of.
A few hands.
Sort of.
Sort of. Okay. Maybe
I couldn't find that 7-grain mix specifically. I looked at my local H Mart and I was doing my shopping a little bit late. I found something that mostly contained other rice blends more than anything else. I was surprised I couldn't find the grain mix there. This one's mostly like rye berries, barley, other kinds of stuff like that. So.
I found it at H Mart. Here in Berlin.
My local one can see a bit small. It doesn't have all the things there. This is what I had found.
So you can put in any that you want, and a lot of people make their own mixes. The thing about this in the preparation of it is that it needs to be soaked for longer than you would soak plain white rice. So that's why I asked everybody to do that. So have you all made your rice already? If you haven't made the rice, I'm sure you've all soaked it. I ask that you do that. Start the rice, get the rice cookers or the rice going, because at some point when it's done, we're going to start packaging it up. So I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page with the rice. Does anybody have any questions about it? Brown rice, this contains brown rice as well. So brown rice takes more time to soak and to cook. And so that's why you're soaking it for a longer period of time.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I just bought like white short grain rice, 2 cups of that, and then 1 cup of quinoa. I've been soaking it for, a little over half hour. And now you're saying put it in the rice cooker?
Now start cooking your rice as you normally would.
I don't usually soak my rice, so I'll just put it in and I'll add a little water, I guess. Huh?
Okay, if you didn't soak your rice? Okay.
I did soak it, but historically, I have never soaked rice. I always cook brown rice. I don't cook white rice, so now I'm doing white rice. Now I
Okay,
soaked it. I got a nice rice cooker here, you know.
great. You are set to go. So usually, it depends on the type of rice cooker that you have. If you have a smart rice cooker, so what you want to do now is you want to drain your rice.
Yeah.
And then you want to add the amount of water that you need for the 2 cups and the quinoa. How much of the quinoa did you put in?
1 cup.
1 cup.
1 cup. So I have 3 cups of wet rice.
Okay, so I think that you're probably going to need 3 cups of water.
Yeah, here's the rice cooker is just this thing here.
Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to add your water now, and you're going to push the button and get going. I have a smart rice cooker, which usually soaks the rice and then puts it on, but because I soak my rice ahead of time, I put it on the quick mode. Okay, so my rice is almost ready. So you want to get your rice going now. And you want it, yeah, you've got a rice cooker, so you don't have to worry about timing or anything like that. It'll just turn off at a perfect time. Okay?
Yeah, I just don't know I don't know how much water goes in there, but there's not much room, so I'll just put in some water.
Okay. There's usually there's a line, water line there. So
Yeah.
if you put in 2 cups of white rice, that's 2 cups of, you put it up to the 2 cup line, but you added a cup of quinoa, which is quite a bit. So you're going to need at least another cup of water. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. I'll get it started. See
All
what
right.
happens.
So the
Deb,
next
we have, sorry, Deb,
Yeah.
a question from Alexis.
Yeah.
We've only let ours soak for a few minutes so far. Is it better to let it continue to soak at this point or just start cooking now?
Let's
I
see.
I would
Well,
say it depends on what grains you're using. So typically with white rice, it's not necessary to soak if you're using, pressure rice cooker. The reason we're soaking in this case is with some of those added grains, if you just cook like normal in the rice cooker, it'll still be a little hard at the end. So if you're mixing in a lot of harder grains like millet and these things, it is better to let it soak for a bit just so. Yes, exactly. So they all cook, and at the end, it's kind of an even consistency.
And then Alexis, don't worry about it. If your rice isn't ready, you'll just observe how we're putting this all together. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started on our tsukurioki, which is ground chicken made into like a little meatball. And the flavoring for this really delicious spices, aromatics is ginger and garlic and a little bit of soy sauce. It's really very, very simple. We don't usually use ground chicken here in the US as much, but in Japan it is very, very common. You see it with yakitori, you see it in different forms. So we're going to make our tsukurioki, which is little chicken meatballs. We're only going to do half of it with meatballs, and the other half we're going to make chicken patties. Okay, so that we'll have a different variety to put away for the week. So right now I'm going to take my ginger and I'm going to grate it into the chicken mix. I will tell you that I was away for a week in Germany and I froze ginger. I don't know if anybody has done that before for emergency situations. So when I went shopping, I forgot to buy the ginger, but there it was in the freezer ready for me. So there's another tsukurioki tip. All right, so let's just grate the ginger directly into the mixture like that. All right.
I'm seeing a raised hand from Lisa, if you
Yeah.
have a question.
Hi, I just had a question. I was making the rice, so I couldn't ask the rice question at the moment. You were still on rice, but I also have never rinsed rice before. So if you were making your rice your way and you made it one day rinsed or soaked and another day just threw it in the maker, what is the difference in the way it comes out?
Well, rinsing the rice takes off some of the starchiness and some of the dust particles. So a lot of people, and they will, you see it on the back of rice bags. There's no need to rinse your rice, but I rinse my rice all the time. So what could happen is that you have a slightly stickier texture to it.
Okay. Thank you.
That would be it, but I would recommend rinsing. I always rinse my rice. And in general, any rice now, because of rain and arsenic and all these things that people are talking about, it's a good idea to rinse your rice. Okay. All right.
I always grew up rinsing rice as well. We have a couple of questions here about ginger. Christine asks, how much ginger?
I had a 1-inch knob on it, so it's about this thick. And it's about a 1-inch knob. It's kind of hard to say. So I would say it's in the end about a tablespoon. Okay. Of fresh grated ginger. Powdered ginger is not a substitute. Okay. Powdered ginger is not a substitute. It would probably feel like you're eating gingerbread, but that is not a substitute. So I can see when that I've got a lot more fibers here. But here's my ginger. And if people don't like ginger, you don't have to use it. You can also chop it up very finely. And here I'm going to chop up my garlic. Right now, I'm just going to break the skin and then I'm going to grate that.
Valerie asks, did you freeze the ginger grated or whole?
Whole. I froze it whole. I do know that you can freeze it grated as well. That's actually a good idea to do that.
Whole with the peel on?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then I peeled it off. All right, and so now I'm going to grate the ginger. I grate the garlic in. Okay. It's slightly larger than I usually use. My microplane is hiding from me, but I've got this grated. All right. And you can actually use as much as or as little as you want. And then a teaspoon of soy sauce. So let's just throw in soy sauce. Okay, this is an extremely simple, simple dish to make. And you're just going to mix everything together like that. And add a little bit of salt and pepper as well. One of the reasons that I don't season this too much is that we cook it afterwards in teriyaki sauce. And the teriyaki sauce has soy sauce, sugar, and mirin. So you're getting more flavor that way, okay? But the ginger and the garlic is pretty important at this point. And I'd also like to ask you to get a separate pot, of water, and fill it about halfway. We are going to boil the meatballs in this. Okay, so get your pot ready. All right. This is one of the few things that we're actually cooking together. So it's a little bit more labor intensive than the other recipes. So for right now, I'm going to turn up my heat. All right. And get that going and continue mixing this. All right. It's interesting. I don't know if anybody's used ground chicken before or what you use it for. Is anybody using something other than ground chicken? Anybody using something else, Joanne? Or most people are using that?
Yeah, also using tofu, using both.
You're using both. Are you going to mix so you're going to make the tofu separately or are you putting
Yes. Yeah, we did 2 different dishes, one with the ground chicken, one with tofu, because we wanted to try both.
Okay, very good.
I had to use ground turkey.
Ground turkey, okay. Ground turkey is a little drier. It's actually a lot drier than the chicken. So I would add a little bit more soy sauce.
Or soy, okay.
A little bit more soy sauce, maybe add a dash of oil as well.
Great.
Non-flavoring oil so that because the chicken is usually the darker meat, as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
Christina asks, do we use potato starch in this?
You can, you don't put it in here. That's the next step. You can use
Okay.
potato starch or you can use cornstarch. So either
But
one,
that's the next step. Okay.
that's the next step here.
And then Alexis is using Beyond Beef and Naomi is using beef.
Okay, I will be super interested to hear how this turns out. You don't always see ginger with beef, but you usually see ginger with ground pork, but I'm sure it's going to be delicious. And certainly you have meat with the teriyaki sauce, so that'll be great. I'm interested to see how it will behave rolled in the cornstarch. Okay, we're just about getting ready to do that now. And as I said, I'm going to make 2 patties. I'm trying to keep my camera together for you guys here. And 2 or 3 patties, I think I'll get from a half a pound. And then this is going to be my, my chicken meatballs. And these are the ones where you need to cook these first and then you freeze them. But they do not get cooked in the teriyaki sauce. Okay, you just freeze the balls separately. So today we'll be able to cook a few in the teriyaki sauce just so that you can taste it. All right. So now let me bring over the cornstarch, which I have on a plate. Okay. So my cornstarch is all ready. The only thing I'm putting in the cornstarch is right now is the chicken meatballs. All right. And it's really good to have everything kind of set and ready to go. I have a separate plate here. All right. We're going to be cooking the meatballs in 2 batches. All right. You're not going to cook them all at one time. They will rise. The other thing about that is that you don't put all of the meatballs in the cornstarch. You put the meatballs in the cornstarch when you're ready to cook it. Okay? Everybody with me?
No, how much? Did you put something in cornstarch already?
I didn't put no cornstarch in here.
Can we use potato starch?
Yes, absolutely.
So what do you have? Oh, you have a tray of it.
I have a tray of it right here. So put your half a cup or whatever it is of the cornstarch or potato starch right here, all ready. And then I have another plate over here ready to accept the completed balls. All right. And I'm going to take 2 spoons and a teaspoon like this. All right. I want to make sure everybody's water is boiling as well. So you don't want these to be too big. And then you just put them right into the cornstarch. Okay. Now, I can do this with my hands. You guys can do this with your hands, but my hands will become a complete, I may have to do it with my hands. And then you just take your ball here and set it aside. Okay. And keep going. You don't want a large pot because you're not going to cook them all at the same time.
Quick
Okay.
question. Was
Yes.
the salt and pepper supposed to go into this?
Yes.
Okay.
Salt and pepper. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just saw that. I was like everything in a mixing bowl and I'm like, wait, salt and pepper.
So I'm just going to move this around. And you don't have to have a perfect ball. These tsukune dango are kind of a little odd shaped. Here. But, think about it and think about, that you're going to be putting this either in a bento box or you're going to be putting it on rice or on a skewer. I very often put mine on a skewer and put it in the bento box. And I just, shake it around like this. Right? Okay.
You get like 8 meatballs?
The first one will be 8 meatballs. I think in total we'll probably make 16. So this first batch is going to be 8. You may end up getting more. This is 1 pound is a lot. So it depends on how you want
Wait,
to do.
I thought the other pan was for patties. Half a pound.
Half a pound, yes, it's for patties, yes.
So we out of our half,
And then you'll get, so it's like a half a pound for 16 balls, and the other half is for three patties,
oh, okay, 16.
probably around 16.
All right, I did 8, so mine are too big. All right.
Yeah, not too big, not too big. All right, and what we're gonna, these are designed to get frozen and put into the freezer. Or if you don't want to do that, what I also do is I keep them in a container in the refrigerator. They keep very well, specifically because they have ginger and garlic in it, which are two sort of antibacterials and help to hold things. All right. So what do I have here? 2, 4, 6, 8. All right. So now my water is starting to boil. I want to make sure everybody is with me. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is we're going to get the meatballs into the water. And then as they're cooking, we'll finish up with the rest of the meatballs. Okay, please have something to scoop the meatballs out with and put them on a clean plate. Don't put cooked food back on a plate where you had raw food. Okay, I'm sure you all know that, but sometimes we just forget. All right, let me take my.
Just
pan.
making sure we're gonna poach the little meatballs or tofu, not air
Exactly.
fry or anything.
Exactly. So I'm glad you used the word poached because we are, we're gonna cook them mostly through, but they're gonna finish cooking in the teriyaki sauce. Okay, and we'll now get started. I'm gonna move my camera over carefully.
And I'm using tofu instead of chicken, and it's not really binding super well. I'm not sure
The
if it'll
tofu,
hold together in the poaching liquid.
no. So for tofu, I think I said in the recipe that the tofu balls get fried.
Okay.
They get fried. They will not hold together in this. So you will put them in breadcrumbs and you will fry them. That's what the recipe says. So read the recipe through. You don't have to cook them right now if you don't want to, but what you will do when you're ready to cook them is to put them in breadcrumbs and then fry them in oil. Okay, and that should hold together. The other thing about the tofu, I think I mentioned that you should be making patties. You could try a couple of meatballs, but I think the patties will hold together better. Okay,
You said add an egg to those too, right, for the tofu?
yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That will hold it, that will bind it together in a way that you don't need an egg for this. All right, so now my water is boiling.
I have a quick interruption. I have like a brief version of the recipe that's more like an order of the day of everything we're doing. But it sounds like some of the details that everyone has are more detailed. Are there separate recipe pages that maybe I don't have?
There are two documents. One is the ingredient and material list, and one is the recipe document. Everyone should have those two documents, and between
see.
the two,
Oh, okay.
between the two, there should be kind of a full written instructions for
Thank you
everything.
so much. I was looking at the more like the ingredient list. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, are you all seeing my pot now?
Yes, Deb, very clearly.
See that? Okay. All right. In go the chicken balls. Okay, the water should be boiling. Pop them in. All right. And they will come back to a boil. And Joanne, are you seeing the whole pot?
About half, but we can see that the water has gone down a little bit.
Okay.
Um,
And I'm just gonna keep my heat up.
Is anybody else still waiting for their water to boil?
Okay.
Yeah.
Throughout the program, if you fall a little bit behind, and especially for this one, because some people may not be cooking now, but they'll be cooking to prep later, we will be sending out a video of the entire program to everyone tomorrow, so you can always feel free to re-reference that.
That's good. I am definitely falling behind. My
Ye-
my stove is a little weak. It does not boil things very well.
We try to go slower, and I will take my time. Don't worry. Get your water up to the boil, and yep. And once you see what happens is once you put the meatballs in, the temperature goes down, and it will come back up again. And what will happen is that the meatballs will start to float. Okay.
Do you lower the temperature as soon as you put them in, or do you wait for it to come to a boil again and then lower the temperature down?
Boil, and then I lowered the temperature.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So while we're waiting, if you're still doing that, I'm just going to make the patties here. All right. And I will just try to do this halfway. I had a little bit of a camera issue today, so we're using I'm using my iPhone, which I usually don't use. So there. All right. So now with the patties, I do not use cornstarch or anything like that. I just make regular patties like a hamburger, and I'll put them right here. And then, so if I'm thinking of a lunchbox, I'm gonna go for maybe like something like a very large meatball, and then just roll it around like that. Okay. And then just place it right down here and finish up with, I think I can get 3 patties out of this. All right. Go. And 1 more. And so this now I can use, this is what I'm going to use for dinner. And we're going to cook this, we're going to fry it separately, and then we're going to cook it in the teriyaki sauce once we make that. So if you can see, I'm just flipping them back and forth in my hand, and I have a pretty nice patty at the end of that. Okay. So that's 3 patties.
And it's supposed to be pretty sticky, yes?
Very sticky.
Okay, thank you.
Very sticky. Okay. You can wear a pair of plastic gloves, but it is a very sticky, it's much stickier than using ground beef. Okay, so let's put this on the side. And we'll get to cook that. And since my hands are all kind of messy, I'm going back to finishing up the meatballs. All right, I'm just going to take this slightly off camera for now. And we'll do that. Okay, and just right in here.
You're boiling. Yay.
All right, is everybody catching up?
Oh, my boil, I'm putting in the meatballs.
Okay.
I'm glad you said patties for dinner, because my husband, this is my dinner prep time.
Absolutely. That's it. This is my dinner prep time too. I told my husband it's chicken teriyaki burgers for dinner. All right. And let me just get my here and finish these up, and then we will move on. And take a look at your chicken meatballs now. They should be floating. Let me know if they are floating. All right. And so I got a little bit less here. I did a little bit more on the burgers. And so it looks like I've gotten 8, 10, 12, 13 chicken balls. Okay. All right, I'm going to take my bowl, put it in the sink, and wash my hands and be right back with you.
Thanks. How long is this event scheduled for?
It's scheduled for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes.
Okay,
Roughly an hour and a half,
Thank
but
you.
if
wonderful.
It very often goes a little over, but as if you can't stay, as Joanne said, we have the video for you. All right. So let's take a look at the meatballs. Okay, there they are. They're floating now. And I have this handy dandy little tool called a spider. And it's great for lifting things out. Now, I can see the important thing here is if you're going to eat it now, it's okay to be a little undercooked because we're going to cook it in the in teriyaki sauce. But the only real way to tell if something is done is to cut in. I can tell by the feel of the ball that I'm pressing it on it. It's hard. So I believe that the interior is probably done. All right. And now I'm just going to put these on our plate. Yes.
if you had to give a minute, a measurement for how long the meatballs poach for,
I would say at least 5 minutes. At least 5 minutes. That's also one of the reasons why you don't want to make them too big. All right. So my last batch of meatballs now go in. The more meatball, the more in the pot, the lower the temperature. And that's why I'm sure you've made many things where it says to cook half, fry half, because you lower the temperature of the liquid that you're cooking in, and that really throws cooking time off. So it's best to do a little bit at a time. Okay. All right, everyone. I'm going to take my cornstarch. You cannot reuse this cornstarch. It's had raw meat in it. I put too much in here, but too bad I have to throw it away. Okay. Or if I was going to be thickening the soup or something with it, I might use it because it would be cooked, but I can't do it with anything else. So I'm going to set this aside. All right. And let this come back up to a boil. Clear my space. And what we're going to do is we're going to finish all the prep for the recipe, which means we're going to make the teriyaki sauce now. All right. And so that will be done. And we will get that done, but we're not going to cook anything yet because we're getting ready to put things aside. Also, I know this is a lot to be doing, but please check your rice if you're cooking it on the stove. If you have a rice cooker, you're fine. But if you're cooking the rice on stove, is anybody doing any stovetop rice? No? All right. So let me get my teriyaki sauce here. Oops. So we use soy sauce. All right. I like to use a lower sodium soy sauce. This is a little hard to see this way. Mirin, which is a sweet Japanese rice wine, and sugar. Now, you can buy teriyaki sauce. Absolutely feel free to do that. But this is a quick one that we're going to make, and I thought it would be sort of easy for you to see how you can do it yourself. And I always keep a jar in the refrigerator because it's just so useful. Let me check my meatballs. Yep, they're doing okay. And so if you get yourself a small pot and put in a half a cup of soy sauce, okay, and oops, let me just get my recipe so that I do that. Joanne, do you have the recipe in front of you?
I do.
Okay, could you give us the amounts?
Sure, it is the half cup soy sauce. It's 1 tablespoon of the mirin.
Okay, I've already put in my mirin. Yeah.
It's 2 to 3 tablespoons of sugar.
Yep. So 1 tablespoon. few tablespoons. Now teriyaki sauce is it's kind of a little thick. It's not a very thin sauce. It's a thicker sauce. And teri means glaze and yaki means to cook, so, or grill. So you're really creating a glaze that you're able to grill. All right. And just get this up here. I even have to change my master. And so what you're going to do, and then the other thing that I like to do is to add a slice of ginger to this. It gives it a nice flavor, and it's optional though, but I like to add a piece of ginger to this. All right. So there we go. I am cooking with a cassette cooker, so I have to add a new cassette now, which I have ready. I'll put this right here. Okay. How's everybody doing? Get to see this very handy dandy machine that most Japanese homes have for home cooking. And this helps me when I'm doing my cooking classes.
It is 1 tablespoon mirin for Christine.
Good. As a Girl Scout, you always have to be prepared. All right, here we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cooking my teriyaki sauce. Here we go. All right. And then this just kind of, I mean, it's good to watch it because it has sugars in it, and so it can burn very, very easily. All right. If there are 2 of you in the kitchen, you can assign somebody to look at this. All right. But we're going to first bring this up to a boil, which would be on a high heat. All right. And just going to mix it up a little bit like this. And I like to think of teriyaki sauce as sort of the Swiss Army knife of Japanese sauces. You can use it for so many different things. So that's why I like the idea of trying to, you know, make my own and keeping a jar in the refrigerator. All right. So let's.
And how long would that last in the fridge?
It kind of lasts forever. You know, it doesn't. I've never had it go bad at all. I don't even know what it would be like if it went bad, but usually I keep, I don't know, it could last well more than 2 months, well more than 2 months.
We're done with the water you boiled the potato, or the chicken meat, correct?
Let me just wait, let me just this down. I'm so glad that you asked that question. Don't throw it away. It is so delicious. You threw it away? Sorry, guys. Sorry, I should have told you. Let me turn it off now. I usually make a sauce, a soup out of it, which is really very good. I'm just going to switch my stove now. Okay. So this is really delicious. If you taste this, taste the soup, it's got this gingery chicken flavor. And I am so glad you mentioned it and very sorry I didn't tell you that ahead of time. But here we are. Our chicken balls are all ready. All right. Now. Okay. Here we are. And this chicken stock. It's like chicken stock now. Let me give it a taste and see what I think. Yes, delicious. You could use this as the base for noodles. Anything could use a little bit of salt or something, add vegetables, rice. It's really very good. So if you haven't thrown it out, don't. All right. Okay. So we are just about done with those. And what you want with the teriyaki sauce is you want it to thicken. Okay. So I bring it to a boil and I boil it for about a minute and then I lower the heat. And you cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. It thickens as it cools. So don't worry if it seems too watery, but I can already see that this is getting thicker, right? And then we're going to be putting it in a frying pan, heating it up and cooking the chicken balls in it. So the chicken, kind of the natural gelatin from the chicken, will also thicken this as well. I can see that this is already getting pretty thick. Okay, so generally speaking, when I'm doing things to prepare for the week, I will then take this, put it in a jar, keep it in the refrigerator. Okay, so that's something that we'll all be ready to do. You don't have to have a fancy ball jar or anything, just a regular, any kind of jar would be great. All right, I'm not going to put it in a jar now because we are going to use it later. So let me ask you, is everybody ready now and done with the chicken? We will cook the patties later when we're ready to eat. Okay.
I'm seeing mostly thumbs up. I
Most
think we're.
all right,
I've
everybody.
just accepted I'm not going to catch up, but so I'm just going to be trying to do my best to be behind.
Where are you, Aunt? Where are you?
I literally have like about a couple minutes ago, I finally had the water boiling and added the first set of chicken balls in. That's how slow it's going on my end. Can't do much about it though.
Oh, you got a really slow oven there.
Either that or I used too large of a pot for the chicken balls. So I think that might have been more of
Okay.
it.
So if you've noticed, my pots have been rather small, like 1 quart, 2 quart pots.
Yeah, I haven't been able to look at it very well because I'm on my phone with this and I didn't have the picture of it the first time. So
Okay, my teriyaki is done. Basically, really what we're doing is cooking the sugar and we're cooking the mirin down. Traditional teriyaki sauce has sake in it as well. And so they very often cook the sake and the mirin together ahead of time, but it's not necessary. All right, everybody, on to the next activity. I'm going to put this on the side. If you just give me a second.
If we were to add sake beforehand, how much would you recommend for this specific dish?
So if you were to add sake ahead of time, I said half a cup of, so I don't know, I would say what, like a 2 to 3 tablespoons? What do you think, Joanne?
I would say, yeah, it's as a flavoring, so just a splash. So, a few tablespoons, no more than that.
And basically what happens when you're adding sake is you're boiling it off. So you're kind of getting rid of the alcohol content of it, okay? All right, it certainly doesn't hurt children or anybody. So I'm going to take my thing away here. Clean up the spot. Okay, and we are going to go on to our next thing. Let me just wipe this off. Okay. Go. And since we're on the soy sauce kit here, and everybody has that, we are going to do the eggs. Okay. Did everybody boil 3 eggs, 4 eggs boiled? Okay. Let me just move this over here. What I'm seeing. So these are called, they're not ramen eggs because they're not so soft in the middle, but the concept is the same. It's ajitsuke tamago. So you're adding flavor to an already hard-boiled egg. And the flavorings for this, again, are very simple. Soy sauce, mirin, and a little bit of sugar and water. Is that correct, Joanne? Is that on the
Yes, soy sauce, sugar, and mirin, and a couple people boiled more than 3 or 4. I think your recipe said 4 to 6, but
that's good. Yes, definitely remove the shells. Absolutely, the shells have to be removed. Okay. And if you'll see, I have a glass jar here and a plastic bag that I put in the jar. And generally speaking, these eggs take at least overnight to have a flavor. These are very popular for picnics, for lunch boxes. They add a great flavor to the egg, and it's something that's really quite easy to have around on hand, and just adds that much, a little bit more of the flavor to it. Okay, so, and Joanne, if you will do that, me the favor again of reading.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, it is 2 tablespoons for the soy sauce.
Okay. And I will just show you here. I do not measure over the container I'm going to use. I measure off of it because if I slip, not good. All right, so 2 tablespoons.
And Christine is asking, would you use a low sodium or regular soy sauce?
It's either one is okay. I tend to use low sodium. Okay, it doesn't mean it's less flavor. It's just less salt. Okay. So you can put the plastic bag in here, or you can put them directly in thing. You can see this is kind of a tall thing, and you'll see why, because we want the eggs to stay, stay submerged. All right, so 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. Yeah.
Mhm. And then mirin, 2 teaspoons.
2 teaspoons. Okay. Teaspoon here, and put that here. We may end up doubling this. We'll see how it goes. 1, 2, yes.
And finally, 2 teaspoons sugar.
2 teaspoons of sugar. Okay, this is my sugar. 2 teaspoons of sugar. Okay. And then you're just going to mix it all around. And then the final element is water. Is that correct, Joanne? Is there water?
It doesn't say to add water in the recipe here.
Wait a minute. Let me just double check. And
Oh, it does say add water, but it doesn't. Oh, sorry, 2 tablespoons water. Excuse me, it was cut off.
yes, okay. So you're diluting it a little bit, all right, and I'm just going to add the water in here. Right to the mixture. And if you put it in a container like this, sort of half of it would be covered, and you can, move it around, that's okay. So putting it in some kind of an upright container helps, and we'll see, we may need to add more so that we're able to cover the things. Look, now you're just going to put the eggs in. Okay. Like this. Can you see what I have here? They're kind of sitting in the liquid. I think let's do the double. Let's double it so that we make sure that we have enough that's covered in. So let's do that same thing all over again. Just, add it right here, and then you can, move it around. All right, so that's 2 tablespoons of soy sauce.
Yes, 2
Okay.
tablespoons soy sauce.
1, 2,
2
yes.
tablespoons water.
2 tablespoons water. Yeah. Okay.
For the mirin, it's 2 teaspoons.
Yep. And 2 teaspoons of mirin. Ready? Go. And
2 teaspoons sugar.
alrighty. I spent most of my time, I lived in Japan for 12 years, over a period of 52 years. So not all at the same time. And I spent most of my time in Tokyo. And in Tokyo, I tell you that because they like things sweeter than in other parts of the country. So if it was left up to me, there would be a little bit more sugar in here than necessary than we'd have here. But this is, Naoko-san, You didn't, where did you grow up, and does this look sweet to you or too sweet?
Tokyo, and it was fine. I made it last night and delicious.
Delicious, okay. So
Thank you.
there our eggs are covered, all right, and that's kind of the important thing. And then you just want to, you can tie it, or you can just let it go down like that and just keep it in the refrigerator. These are not for freezing, okay? Naoko-san, how many did you make? How
Four.
many did
I
Four.
made 4.
All right. There we are. That's done. All
Can
right.
can you remind me how to know when the chicken is ready?
They start to
Just-
float, the balls float up, and it's about 5 minutes. And then what I did was I just, I pressed my finger against the only real exact way to know is to cut into it. You don't want to see white in the middle, but because we're going to continue cooking these, they don't have to be completely done. Okay? All right.
Christine asks, how long do the eggs keep in the fridge?
Oh, well, I forgot there were some eggs in the fridge, and it was like 2 weeks in there, and they were still very good. I don't know if I'd eat them after a month, but you know, again, you're preserving these eggs in soy sauce. Okay.
I would say they just get more and more flavorful, so it depends on how strong of the taste you like, but I
Yes.
also have kept them for quite a while and just use them on top of rice or ramen as needed, but they do get stronger and stronger as time goes on.
Okay.
You mean if you keep them in the marinade? Or
Yes.
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Yes.
I also made my eggs last night. I was kind of panicking, thinking, oh, they had to be already finished. I made 6 of them, and they're in the fridge right now, but they were going for about 24 hours in the marinade.
So already in the marinade. So already now they're going to be delicious. They're
Yep,
really
I mean, I've got them in a bowl ready to go. So
all right. Super, super. So the thing with these with Tsukurioki is they're going to stay in the marinade. We're not going to do anything with them other than cut them in half and eat them. Okay. So
Mhm.
what you've done now is as much as you're going to do with the eggs.
Yeah.
All right. Is everybody ready for me to move on to the next item? Want to make sure I'm not driving everybody totally crazy. So I'm going to go to the broccoli next. All right. Has everybody cooked their broccoli ahead of time? All right. As you can see, this is quite beautifully green. Joanne, is this completely visible? Yep. Okay. So my broccoli is done. I make sure that it is all dry and ready to go to put away. And I will tell you that I have done the green beans as well. Green beans do not freeze well. They become very, very watery on the inside. I know you can buy frozen green beans, but I've frozen these and they are mushy. So what I do for this, we can all, if you have your containers to put things in, I like to put them in small snack bags like this. Individual servings is what I generally do with the string beans, and I keep them in the refrigerator. So they fit very nicely in here. So I'm thinking, when I'm thinking individual servings, I'm not thinking of dinner for 2, I'm thinking of lunch, like a bento box. Okay, so I'm just putting them in here. Same thing with the broccoli. And what we're going to do now, there's no flavoring, there's no seasoning on any of this. We are going to make a sesame dressing that, again, we're going to keep in the refrigerator. And then when you're ready to use these, that's when you put the dressing on them. Okay? So I don't know if people would like to do this now, but I have several different types of containers. I don't like to freeze everything, this whole block, in one plastic bag because I don't want to use it all at the same time. So I want to keep it separate. So you can either use these little containers. Can everybody have, what kind of containers do you have? Plastic bags? Any of the above works really well. Another thing that you can do, if you really want to be getting ready for your bento box, is if you have coated cupcake liners like this, so it's a little bit coated on the inside, they're not paper. You can put portion size already together, and you can probably fit 2 in a plastic bag, and then you will have these ready to go right into the bento box, okay? You do not have to defrost these if you're putting it in the bento box. By the time you're ready to eat it, it's ready to go in the bento box, okay? So I don't know, if people want to start to pack things up now, or you just want to watch me, we just see how I do a few of them, and then you pack them up later, okay? Is there anybody there who does not like the idea of using plastic wrap? I know that's a big thing now, no plastic.
One recommendation from Alexis is they reuse the wee glass yogurt containers or pudding containers and put a lid on it.
That's a great idea, okay. Anything else? That's a super idea. So these, I will generally take these, and then I will have one larger plastic bag, which I will get momentarily, and then I put them in the plastic bag together so that I keep like items. But then sometimes I'm just not going to be putting it in the freezer, and if I'm not, I will put it in a regular container to have right in the refrigerator, and that would be just a regular size. Something that I like a lot are these clear items that you can see through, so you know just what you have. And so in that case, since you will be sort of picking things out as you go, the important thing is that your items are completely drained. Okay, and done. So freezer, refrigerator. And these I am not going to freeze. Has anybody had success freezing string beans? Because it's not, no, yeah. They don't freeze well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to make the sauce that goes with this green vegetable. It's kind of it's a take on the traditional Japanese gomae, which is a sesame seed dressing. It's got a little bit more flavor to it than you normally would find. And I think that you really enjoy it. And Naoko-san, can you tell me about what happened with your family who doesn't like broccoli?
We tried Deb's recipe last night and they ate broccoli. So that was thanks to Deb.
I hear this all the time. The vegetable that you don't like, and this is very often also put on spinach. You can put it on cauliflower. You can really, put it on anything like that. People tend to eat it if they have this dressing, okay? So I am using a traditional, this is my sesame seeds. Let's go over the dressing, the recipe itself. So Joanne, if you could read that to me, that would be great.
Sure, it's 3 tablespoons of the roasted sesame seeds,
Okay.
2 tablespoons soy sauce, 2 teaspoons sugar, 1 tablespoon water, and 1 tablespoon canola oil.
Oh, very good. No oil here. I think you're seeing a theme. Soy sauce, sugar, mirin. Soy sauce, sugar, mirin. These are very typical seasonings that you find in Japanese cuisine. Also, people don't realize that there's that much sugar in Japanese cooking until they start cooking Japanese food. But the point is that you're not eating huge amounts of it. You're eating small amounts. And so it's not as though you're eating candy for that. All right. And also it acts as a preservative. So somebody is asking a question, any alteration? You could use, I mean, olive oil has a flavor to it and it's not very Japanese, but if you want to use olive oil, go ahead. You know, absolutely, if you want to do that. But I generally use canola oil. You could probably use avocado oil, peanut oil. Anything else that you would recommend, Joanne or Naoko-san?
Alexis is saying safflower oil for
Absolutely.
neutral.
Really, whatever you have. What I'm basically looking for is an oil that has no flavor.
Kathy
Okay.
says sesame seed oil, but in my opinion, sesame seed oil is very strongly flavored.
I would not use sesame seed oil in this at all. It is way too strong. What you could do is you can drizzle sesame oil on afterwards. So I'm just trying to extend this a little bit. Now I have a suribachi, but I also think I mentioned that you could use a Cuisinart or something to grind up the sesame seeds, or you can take a rolling pin and put the sesame seeds between two pieces of wax paper and just grind them back and forth. Or basically what I want to do is crush up the seeds a little bit, okay? So the first thing that you do is you grind the sesame seeds, okay? This is a typical Japanese grinding mortar and pestle. It's called a suribachi. And it has, as soon as you start using it, as soon as you break the sesame seeds, you get this amazing aroma, okay? And that's what you're doing, is you're releasing the aroma. You need to find some way to crush the seeds. When I'm teaching kids in school, very often if we don't have anything, we just use a can, crush it with a can. But as soon as you do that, there's a release of this delicious aroma, which is also said to be something that enhances an appetite. So I'm not looking to create a paste. I'm just looking to crush the seeds. Is anybody else out there using a suribachi or a mortar and pestle? You see anything, Joanne?
I'm seeing a mortar and pestle.
Yeah. Are you smelling the seeds? Oh, wow. What are you using? Valerie, what have you got there? You've got a suribachi. Yeah.
Yeah, this is ISO. So it's the dollar version, but it works.
I have the same one from Daiso.
Ah, yes. Daiso, my favorite store. It's the 100 yen shop, the dollar shop, where nothing costs $1. Okay. So we've got this here. I've crushed up the seeds. You can see that they're still, pretty whole. They're not, the goal here was just to release the aroma and release some of the oil. And you can put it in a jar or you can put it in a little container, which I'm going to do right now, because that's what I have in front of me. Okay. We are cruising along, folks. Okay, so I now have the seeds. I will tell you, when I'm in a hurry, I have put it in a food processor and just go zap, zap, zap. And it does the same thing. And so we have, I think, what did we say, Joanna, a tablespoon of oil?
We said, yes, 1 tablespoon of the oil.
Okay. And how much soy sauce?
2 tablespoons soy sauce.
Again, not over the item on the side here. 1, 2, yes.
1
And
tablespoon water.
1 tablespoon water, okay. And
2 teaspoons sugar.
2 teaspoons sugar, okay. There you go. If anybody, you can use brown sugar if you want. You can use less sugar if you want, but generally speaking, this now just gets spread on top of the vegetables. So now you have this sauce, and I'd like you to give it a taste, and you can add a little bit more soy sauce if you want, or you can add a little bit more oil to extend it, or a little bit more water to actually thin it out a little bit. So the way this would be served, and we can do this later, I've kept some of the broccoli on the side, is I have my broccoli now all ready to go into my bento box. And the reason why I have the coated paper here is so that I am going to put on a little bit, you don't have to do this now, I'm just showing you how it is done. A little bit of the dressing, like that. Okay, it's supposed to be thick with sesame seeds, but you can thin it out a little bit. Okay, mine feels a little bit thick to me. Okay, and this is how it would be eaten and put right into the bento box. If you're serving it on a bowl at the table, you would just put the broccoli in and put this around. Okay, so this feels a little bit thick to me. I think, let me just give it a taste. I might add a little bit more soy sauce, or I could have put in too many of the sesame seeds. Oh man, that is delicious. Okay. Have a taste of it. I'm going to add a little bit more soy sauce to mine. I'd like to thin it out just a little bit. There we go. That to me is a better consistency. All right. And so that's done. And then this can be used for any number of things, but it's great on green vegetables. And then a very important step here is to label what you're putting away. Okay, so put this here, write sesame seed dressing on it, and have it labeled. Point, in fact, this is a mystery to me. I put it in the freezer. I have no idea what it is. I didn't label it. I don't know. It's frozen. It's white, and I have no idea what it is until I open it up. So label things. I'm sure you're all better at that than I am, but I would recommend labeling things when you put them away. All right, we are cruising toward finishing up here. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Are you all with me? Make sure your rice is off and will be ready to use. Before we do that, we're going to do our final thing is the cauliflower pickle. Okay, so I'd like to do that first. Let me just wipe up my spot here so that I am ready for the next activity. How's everybody doing? This is a 2-hour project on a Sunday for you to get your things together for the week. And I think it's well worth it. After you will have a kitchen that looks like a bomb hit it, but it's worth it when things go very smoothly during the week for you. Does anybody do any of this cooking ahead of time already? Anybody have any tricks or tips or anything?
I do. And like one of the things I definitely focus on are things that are kind of like pre-packaged and pre-cut, like so like things like with the broccoli and the cauliflower, I just went to the store and got pre-cut items because it's like it just helps some of that prep. And
absolutely,
and I feel like there's like less cleaning you have to do and stuff, you know. I think that's like for me, like certain things, like if it's easy. I also have one of these like food choppers, so whenever I prep, like I really love it. But I mean, for just certain things like cauliflower, broccoli, I'm always usually getting the bagged items that are just, you have to clean them, wash them, and they're ready to go.
I totally agree with that. That, you know, is a I definitely, I've done that myself. Some things are just, you know, quicker to get done. The point is got it ready when you need it. Anybody else make any comments that we saw? Joanne? See anything?
Nothing in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
I do some sort of meal prep, but I definitely don't have anything nearly this complicated. I mostly just prepare like soba for myself more than anything else because I find that's a really easy, like fulfilling lunch of sorts. But I just rely on like frozen vegetables and stuff past that. This is my first experiment trying to do something with more real prep to it.
Yeah, and it's, it's a lot. I will tell you, it's a lot. But hopefully you will see that at the end, when you're starting the week and you're able to just pull these things out and you've got an interesting meal, that you'll feel it was worth it. And, we're just trying to jam a lot in for you to have options. I wanted you to be able to put together a meal at the end of this. But do as little or as much as you want for that. So onto the cauliflower. This is quick cauliflower pickles. And I learned this is a Japanese pickle. I've had this in Japan. Have you had this, Naoko-san, or in Japan?
First time, but we all liked it.
You all liked it. Okay, very good. So again, prep. I've got my cauliflower. I cooked it for a couple of minutes. Generally speaking, Japanese don't love raw vegetables, but this also helps to make it good. And I have an old sauerkraut jar here, and I'm just going to put my cauliflower into the jar.
It's good.
All right. And I use a small head, but you don't have to, use all of it. It's going to all go, put in there as much as I can get in. Whoops, flying cauliflower. And they're also very easy, quick pickles that you can make as well by just cutting up cucumbers, salting them, and squeezing out the liquid and adding a little soy sauce and lemon juice. And that's something that you would do like at the moment. Okay. All right. So I've got a jar here, almost full of my cauliflower. All right. And I have a small red pepper. Oops. I had a small red pepper here. I am not seeing it right this second. Are anybody using a red pepper? Oh, here it is. Sorry, it's in the jar. I was looking for a little bag. This is tongarashi, aka tongarashi, which is red, Japanese red pepper. I like to put in one. They are strong. They can be very strong. And people probably know that if you want it to be less spicy, you take out the seeds. Okay. So I'm going to take out the seeds. This is kind of a big jar, so I'm going to put in 2. Okay. But I am going to take out the seeds. Okay. So it's a very simple pickle. It's just the cauliflower. And now we're going to make the brine to go with it. And Joanne, if you would read me that as well. Okay.
Yes, it's 1 to 2 teaspoons of the curry powder. And Linda is asking, what kind of curry powder do you use? There's so many different kinds.
I just use a very standard curry powder. Is this McCormick's? I don't know what it is. It's simply organic. I don't remember where I got this, maybe Whole Foods, but any curry powder is fine. Any curry powder. So don't worry about it. Even Japanese curry powder, but this is just a plain curry powder for that. Let me just get a bowl for that too. Okay. All right. So 1 to 2 teaspoons of curry powder.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. If you like a stronger flavor of curry, you can go with 2 teaspoons. But usually when I say 1 to 2, I always start with 1. Okay. You can always add, but it's very hard to take away. Right. So.
Katie asks, do you recommend cooking the cauliflower or would raw work? I know the one Deb has put in the jar is been boiled for about 3 minutes.
Right. You could use raw. Definitely you could use raw, but I think the cooked absorbs the flavor a little bit better. Okay, try it. Try it. I'm trying to remember, is giardiniera the Italian pickle with cauliflower? Is that cooked? I think everything is cooked a little bit. Carrots, cauliflower.
Yeah, it's a little like parboiled.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you do. You like parboiling does like help in general,
Definitely.
just for you to like prep, especially for quick, because this is a quick pickle. So
Right.
with quick pickles, like doing a parboiling is going to allow you to consume it a little quicker. If you do more traditional, it can take several days to like a few weeks.
Yeah. Agreed. I would definitely cook the cauliflower. But
I have a comment about that. My mother-in-law makes it all the time, and what she does is she makes a mixture of the vinegar or whatever the flavorings, the soy sauce, those types of things that you're going to use.
Yes.
And then and of course she's accustomed to the container, but she puts all of her cauliflower and carrots and things in a jar, and then she puts the vinegar mix in there, and then she adds an amount of boiling water to the jar that is enough to bring it to the top, and that's it. She lets it sit outside until it cools, and that's enough cooked when it's done.
Exactly. Now, did you say she cooked the cauliflower or she didn't?
No, she just takes the raw stuff into the glass jar and then dumps the flavorings and then fills it all the way to the top with boiling water.
Okay, that's a good tip. That's a good tip. Now, it doesn't say it in the recipe, but you can add a couple of slices of garlic to this. Again, garlic is also a preservative, not just for flavor. These people knew what they were doing. And we are going to add water to this to dilute the brine a little bit. Okay, so we've got a teaspoon of curry powder, and next?
2 tablespoons of sugar.
Sugar, okay, there's our sugar again. Alrighty. 2 tablespoons of sugar. 1, 2. Okay.
5 tablespoons rice vinegar.
Okay, so here I'm using rice vinegar. It is much less acidic. The flavor is much softer than a regular vinegar. You could use regular vinegar, but I would use apple cider vinegar if you are going to make that exchange. But the sugar softens it anyway, so really don't worry too much about it. So we've got 5 tablespoons of rice vinegar. All right, so what we're doing now is basically making our brine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then?
Half a teaspoon of salt.
Okay. So I would say that you can do a half to 1 teaspoon. Okay, I've made it before. What did you think, Naoko-san? Was it enough? The salt was enough with a half teaspoon?
For me it was, but if you like stronger flavor,
Yeah.
I guess you can add, yeah.
My husband said it needed more salt, so I'm gonna put in a teaspoon here. All right, but we're just used to eating a lot of salt. All right. And then?
Some water, maybe about a 1/4 cup. I think it kind of depends on the container.
That you have here, okay? And this is going to get compressed as the time goes on, and it gets, lower and lower, but we will add about a 1/4 cup of liquid to this. Okay. And you again, 1/4 cup of water. Okay. And I think, is that it, Joanne?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, and then this just gets poured into your container.
There's one question. Can you use curry paste?
You mean like Japanese curry paste? What kind of curry paste?
Not sure. The question's coming in through chat.
Interesting. As long as it's dissolved, I don't see why not. Okay, I don't see why not. I think you probably can. Now, I don't have that much liquid in here, so I'm going to add water up to about another, I think another half cup. And what's going to happen is that this is going, we're going to push it down and it's going to eventually get covered by that. So another cup of water.
Yeah,
would be
she
fine.
was referring to Japanese curry paste.
Okay,
Personally, I think the roux blocks have a lot of added ingredients to make,
okay.
so it usually has flour and butter and a couple other things in those kind of Japanese roux blocks, so I may not use it.
That's a very good point. It does have a lot of other things and there's fat in there. So the fat is going to congeal in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Good point. So now I've just covered this up and I've got the jar. You can leave it out overnight to get the fermentation started, or you can just put it right in the refrigerator, okay? And it will be ready in a day. Okay, I probably could have used a slightly smaller jar than this, but then what I'll do tomorrow is if I don't see the water or the brine covering it, I'll push it down a little bit more, okay? All right. Is everybody with me? Are you all exhausted? All right, we are almost done. This one we're coming up to is my favorite one, and then we'll cook the chicken and give it a taste. All right, so I'm gonna put this on the side now, wipe this off, and I'm gonna get my rice ready. So bring your rice to an area where you can use, and you need some plastic wrap, okay? All right, let me clear this up. Joanne or Naoko-san, do you ever do tsukurioki of this type? Or anything you can recommend to people?
Well, in Korea, most people make a lot of banchan, the small side dishes that they serve ahead of time, because as you said, a lot of these ingredients keep well. So in Korean food, a lot of it's marinated with soy sauce or garlic or a spicy marinade. A lot of them are kind of pickly, and so they keep for a while. And a lot of the times, that's why whoever's cooking at home will do a lot of banchan in many batches for the week. So in a sense, yes.
I do freeze rice.
You what?
I do freeze rice
You
like
freeze
in the
rice.
size of onigiri, like individually wrapped.
Okay. That's, you can freeze onigiri, definitely. And this is makes it very easy, but you have to heat the rice after you take it out of the freezer. That is really an important point here. You can't just defrost it. It really tastes terrible, okay, if you do that. So once you've got this going, then you will definitely need to have about 1.5 minutes in the microwave for it to cook. All right, so I have my handy dandy saran wrap container here. I'll show you my rice. Ooh, nice. Okay, so this is my rice with the different grains, and I'm just going to break it up a little bit like that. Sometimes there's also sweet rice variety that's in here, so it makes it a little bit extra sticky. But there. I want to make sure that everybody is with me now. Okay.
Yep, I see people mixing up their rice. Yours looks great.
All right. I'm going to set this on the side here so you can see it. And this is what I usually do is if I'm preparing rice for just for dinner, I prepare more than I need. And then I'll put away 2 or 3 balls each time I do that. Let me just get it out of the freezer so I can show you what the concept is here. Didn't want to take it out ahead of time so you can see it. So here, I had 6, I now have 3. What we're going to be doing is we are going to be wrapping each one in an individual size. And I'm not sure if you could see this, but what happens when you put in the hot rice, which is why I want it to be hot, is that the condensation forms. So there's little water globules in here. So when you heat it, you have this extra little bit of moisture that steams the rice. Really gives you something very good. So individually, and then I put them in a bag, and then I put the bag in the freezer. Okay? So I learned.
Linda has,
Yes.
sorry, a question from Linda about the rice cooker. When she cooks rice in the rice cooker, it indicates when it's done, but they find that the bottom gets browned and gummy. Any suggestions?
I don't know whether that means you're using too much liquid or not, but very often rice gets brown on the bottom, which is the gummy's not good, but brown on the bottom is not bad. I'm not quite sure. I might think that you would go with a little bit less liquid. Does the rice taste mushy? Linda, is the rice mushy? No?
Not mushy, according to
Not
Linda.
mushy. It's just the bottom. I don't know what kind of rice cooker that you have, but it's, you know, it really, it can depend on the rice cooker. But I don't know, Naoko-san or Joanne, do you have any thoughts about that?
I may add a little extra water.
Extra water
Yeah,
from
if it's not mushy and it just gets burnt,
okay,
just try slightly more
more
than
water,
what
okay.
it says. Yeah.
I would say the same. It's a little bit strange that in the rice cooker, the bottom is browning. If you're doing it on stovetop, that's pretty typical. And I actually use the browned rice to make a rice tea sometimes. But in the rice cooker, usually it shouldn't brown unless maybe there's not quite enough water. Christine is asking, how much rice do you measure out to wrap up individually?
Okay, so this is an American 1 cup measurement. Japanese 1 cup is slightly less. You know, we're like 220, theirs about 200. Depends on what a portion size is to you. So if you want to be precise, you could use a cup. And I wet the cup, and then you can just take it right out of the rice cooker, put it right in the middle like this. Okay. To me, that's a lot. That's a lot. Don't press it down or anything like that. What you want to do now is very lightly wrap it like this. Okay? Not really firm, but you just want to wrap lightly like that. And you can see the condensation already forming there. That's good. All right. So here is 1 portion. Okay. Let me set it aside and let's do another one. In Japan, they have small plastic cups, like little Tupperware things with perfect portion size and a little lid that you can open up, it goes into the microwave. And I don't like to microwave things in plastic. So I undo this before I microwave it, okay? And then I put it in a bowl and I put a little bit of parchment paper on top, okay? Or a little silicone top, and that's how I cook it. All right.
I think, yeah, keeping the moisture is really essential. If you can keep the moisture by wrapping it carefully when you reheat in the microwave, it almost feels like freshly cooked rice. Unfortunately, Maggie says, if you don't have a microwave, what is your recommendation for reheating rice?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess what you could do is fill a saucepan, a low skillet with some water, and you will kind of steam cook it. Do you have a steamer? Any kind of a steamer, Maggie? Do you have something that you could steam the rice in?
They do have a steamer.
I would steam the rice. Would you agree with that?
Yes, any other method will kind of dry the rice out, like in an oven or, and it's hard to recook. So yes, steaming is probably best if you don't have a microwave. Alexa's options for wrapping are parchment paper and foil. Any thoughts?
I would not wrap it in foil. I would wrap it in parchment paper. Okay, there's a whole big new thing about foil now. So I'm trying to avoid foil. I would wrap it in parchment paper. I was going to take out a piece and try it for you. But there's also, you can also put it in little glass custard cups. Like this. Okay. And if you're going to, you take it out of the freezer, don't put it directly in the microwave explosion. So you would just need to let this come down a little bit, or you could turn it out onto a plate and then do it. But glass might be a good option for you for that. Okay. So as you can see, when I'm doing this kind of without a cup measure, it's a little bit more random, but that's okay to me. And you see how lightly I am wrapping it. Okay, like that. And so right at this point is when I would put it into the plastic bag. And you think you can get around 6 or 8 of them. I just put them right into the bag like this.
Ebony has a great tip for reheating. Cover with a wet paper towel in the microwave, and that'll prevent the top from drying out.
Oh, good idea.
Mhm.
Very good idea. Okay. Shall we do a couple more and then we'll cook our tsukunedango and give things a try. So let's just do a couple more. All right. Is anybody doing this for the first time? Anybody?
I'm wrapping the rice like this for the first time, that's for sure.
Okay. If you use a cup, which maybe you feel more comfortable with, make sure it's wet, because I think it'll stick to the edges here. So you just want to.
Yeah, I definitely started off with it wet, although I've been just kind of redoing it. So a little bit's been sticking at a time, but I've got way too much rice here, so I'm not that concerned.
Okay, so now the other thing is you've got way too much rice. You can put it in the refrigerator and make fried rice tomorrow. Okay.
All right.
That fried rice is made best with day-old rice in the fridge. Okay, because
Good to know.
in this case, you want to dry the rice out. And when you put something in the refrigerator, that dries food out. So in this, when you want fried rice, put extra rice in the refrigerator in a container, right? So I am really psyched. I have started having Japanese breakfasts in the morning. And if you don't want to get up, and we're not a rice eating culture here, so I don't always have the rice cooker going. And I've been having rice and natto and miso soup, and it's good. Okay, here is a little bit of brown on the bottom of my rice, okay? And it's also from the color there, but it is a little bit. And so it sometimes happens that that will occur. All right.
A few questions here. Katie asks, how long does the rice last in the freezer?
Again, it probably could last more than 3 months. Okay, I'm going to hesitate to say 6, but I would say at least 3 months it will last. It may lose a little bit of the quality, but it's not going to go bad. Okay, so I don't know. People tend not to keep things in the freezer for more than 3 months. If they're thinking, if not, sometimes it ends up longer. Okay.
And Ashley asks, are we supposed to wait until the rice is cooled before we put it in the freezer?
No, no. It can go right in the freezer. You actually want it to go right in the freezer because it's going to freeze those little water droplets, which is what Joanne was talking about. You know, the keeping the moisture in it makes it like a fresh bowl of steamed rice. You'll see when you do this. You're not going to believe that it didn't just come out of your rice cooker. Okay, I'm going to do one more, and then we're going to go cook our chimidango and give that a taste. So I made I used 3 cups of white rice and a half a cup of that mixed grain. And that just about filled my rice cooker. Okay. 6 meals ready to go. And I'm just
You
gonna,
said when microwaving, you microwave for about a minute and a half.
it's about a minute and 30 seconds. Yeah. If you've ever seen those the packed rice, the prepackaged rice,
Mhm.
already cooked, it's in a styrofoam container and you lift up the edge and they usually cook for about a minute and 30 seconds.
Okay. My only experience microwaving rice has been having like curry and rice together in like one of those Pyrex square containers. And I microwave them with the lid a bit askew so it doesn't explode on it. But I have to have that for like 3 minutes with some water to keep the rice moist.
No, not in this case.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I am done with mine. You can finish off the rest of yours afterwards. I just want to show you that now this could become part of my meal that I'm going to put together. And so I'm going to have a bowl of rice. Okay. So I'm noticing that my rice, it's sticking together quite a bit. I could probably have used a little more water. Okay, not going to be bad, but I could probably use a little bit more water. Okay, so that's part A of meal. That aside. All right, so we are going to go back to the Tsukunidango now. We are almost finished, boys and girls. And
Sorry, Maggie had a quick question in the chat. The pepper was in the cauliflower for a bit of spice, but the cherry tomatoes, I think, were in the bento as an optional vegetable, not in the cauliflower.
yes, exactly, not in the cauliflower. And I have put it in a little container here so I could show you that I put it in a container here. And I'm just, here it is. Nope, that's not it. But I put it in one of my containers, but I like to keep the cherry tomatoes around because they add the color to your meal. Okay, that is something that adds it. So I just keep them in a container. I wash them ahead of time. Oh, here's the container. Ta-da! There it is. All right, it's all ready to go. So as you could see, you know, we're building our meals for the week, and you've got everything that's all ready to go in jars. And if you were going to freeze, let me just go back here. Give me a sec. So, anything. If you're going to freeze these, you can freeze, you know, maybe 6 together at a time. You can put them in a little container. You can put them in a plastic bag. If I'm going to keep them for the week and just use it, I'm going to put them in a large container and just keep it in the refrigerator. Okay, but these freeze really, really well. All right. So let's get our frying pan. All right. Now, who used tofu? Did anybody? I know a couple of people use tofu. Do you have your tofu fritters ready? Yeah? All right. I am going to first cook the balls, but if I'm going to cook the hamburger patty, the grilled chicken patty. I'm gonna put a little bit of oil in here and I'm going to fry it first. Take it out, put in the teriyaki sauce, and then put it in the teriyaki sauce to finish it. All right. So we are now ready to put our teriyaki sauce in here. I just have to remember where I put my teriyaki sauce. Okay, yes, in the pot. Okay, so I'm going to put some teriyaki sauce in here, like that. Not all of it. Not all of it. I'm just kind of coat the bottom. All right. Is everybody with me? Because I'd like you to taste the tsukune. All right. Now I'm going to turn the heat on. Not too high, kind of like a medium. You want to get it to just start to boil a little bit. Over. Right. So you can cook as many of these as you want in this case, in the frying pan. But when you're boiling it, you're only cooking half. So, you know, I have what, 10 or 12 here. I'm going to put them in as soon as it gets hot. Then I'll put them in. All right. Anybody, any questions? Does your kitchen look like a total mess now? How is everybody doing? All right. This is, I will say, one of the most ambitious classes that we've had. We've made kind of the most items for this, but I hope you feel it's worth it after we're done.
I have lunch for the week. I do have a question, actually, Deborah.
Yes.
Do you have any recommendations for a good resource for like other recipes for meal prep, Japanese meal prep throughout the week?
Another source.
If I
Yes.
could suggest, Naoko, maybe you could put in the chat, but if you look on like Instagram, YouTube, social media, and look up these keywords, I don't know if you're looking for Japanese recipes specifically, but it's a pretty big genre on social media in Japan. Little like quick 30-second, 1-minute videos that show you all sorts of these small little side dishes and things that you can make in this style, kind of partially prepped. And there's tons of videos if you look up a few keywords.
I know there's one content creator, I think her name's Kyrie or something. She's out of like Utah. I really like her stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking for more like some Japanese, like Western stuff. Got that. I feel like I'm good with that, but it's like using creative things outside of just like American, European culture would be really fun. Like, and it's just, it changes up like this. And so this was like a really good class. I feel like that's why I know Deborah's saying like, it feels like a lot, but I feel like I have food for the week. I don't have to worry about like thinking about my lunch or dinner, and it's super easy.
We recommend Miwa's Japanese cooking on YouTube. If you,
I like her stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can Google, if you put in like spinach or something, it would pop up, and it's usually, yes, I can.
She's really good. And Just One Cookbook, Nami Chen, has a fantastic website, and she actually has one session for Tsukurioki, okay, which is to put things away into the whole thing. She made like twice as much as we have here. So anyway, how are you doing? Are you cooking your chicken balls? And I'd like to know how the tofu people are doing, if they're frying there. So you can see that these are now coated. I can cook it a little bit more. I can get it to be a little bit more glazy. But this is pretty good. When you want it to get thicker, you have to turn up the heat and stand here, because again, as I said, it's sugar is in here and it will burn. Okay, so you can either skewer these, you can make a bowl out of this, which is what I'm going to do tonight. And that's another thing, is that these are great kind of bowl ideas. All right, I'm gonna turn this off. And I've got my bowl here. I've got some broccoli. And this is kind of a small one, but you know, just for some color here. Do that. 2 of these.
Christine is asking, how long would you saute this for, if you could give a number?
I would give it 3 minutes. That's it. 3 minutes. It's done. All right. And then we could put some right on top of here. And the sauce is really delicious. When you're putting things together in Japanese meal style, you want to use odd numbers, not even numbers. So I've got 3 balls. Oops, I've got 2 of these. I need 1 more. She is not a good luck number in Japan. It is means death, and so people do not use 4. All right, let me just move this off to the side. And
For the chicken patties that you made earlier on, do those go directly into teriyaki? Or those also get coated in the cornstarch and then put in teriyaki?
no, not in the cornstarch. So I'm doing the patties right now. I'm heating up my frying pan. I'm going to add some oil to the frying pan. And they are going to get cooked in the teriyaki sauce, but we're going to cook them first in the frying pan. Okay. And I'm just going to let that heat up. And normally, you know, I might put out some of the pickles. Japanese meal always has a pickle with it, a quick pickle, whatever. It's very good for your digestion. And here I already have my sauce on top of the, right on top of the broccoli. So I think I'll use that. Put that right here. Okay, sorry for my fingers. And now I'm going to add, no. I would cook these first before I froze them. Okay. My hands are full of raw meat right now, so I need to wash it off. But this is how you would do that, and this is how you would do the tofu as well. Okay. I know this is getting late and nearing on almost 2 hours, so I won't take up any more of your time. But I will tell you that I will cook these for about 2 or 3 minutes on each side, and then I would add the teriyaki sauce. Okay, and then let it glaze. Just lower the heat a little bit.
Deb, is that the same process for the tofu patties as well?
Tofu patties, yes. So for the tofu patties, I had recommended that you put them in breadcrumbs. Okay, they'll hold together better. I've not done it in cornstarch or potato starch. I have made tofu croquettes, and I use either panko or breadcrumbs. Okay. And then you just want to turn these over. No, this will take more time to cook, so I don't really want to take up your time to do that right now. But let me just turn it.
Yeah, I think a few people have had to leave for other time commitments, but again, the video will be shared with you all tomorrow, so no worries. Thank you for those of you who have stuck it out for this long. We appreciate your attendance, and I think at this stage we'll maybe take some like kind of last minute questions if anyone has any questions about any aspects of this process.
Has anybody tried the chicken meatball yet?
There's a lot of comments saying how delicious they are.
Yay.
I've liked mine so far too. Glad it's worked out.
Good, thank you. So any other questions from anyone? Thank you for sticking around, like Joanne said, for so long. It's usually not as long as this, but we've been a little ambitious today, which I'm glad that we did this. I've got 2 freezer fulls of stuff. So, any other?
I just have a quick question. So I want to verify. So I poached the chicken. I made the little meatball and I covered it in cornstarch and poached it until it was floating. And then once you take it out of the broth, that's when you're pan frying it.
Yes, that's when I pan fried it. But if you want to put it away, that's the point. You take it after you poach it and you take it out of that liquid. That's the point that you would freeze it. Okay, or put it in a container. And then you would heat the teriyaki sauce. Then put the meatballs into the teriyaki sauce. Let me just bring this.
Okay, so you're not pan frying them after you take them out of the freezer. You're just sort of cooking them in a teriyaki liquid.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. And the patties are the same meat, but you're just cooking them a different way. So instead of poaching them, you're kind of pan frying those.
Frying those first, and I'm cooking them almost all the way through. And then once you've pan fried them, that's when you can freeze them. And then once you're done, once you want to cook them, that's when you cook them in the teriyaki sauce.
Okay. Thank you.
Question. It's about rice because actually my name's Deanne. I'm kind of watching for my daughter because she couldn't watch. So anyway, but when we were going to buy ingredients at the grocery store, you can only find like extra long or long grain white rice. So we bought sushi rice, which
Yes.
is that the same as white rice, short grain, or where do you get your rice?
I get my rice, you can get your rice at H Mart. I mean, Stop and Shop has sushi rice. The rice that you're usually going to find in a supermarket is nishiki. Very often, this is a California grown rice. It's a medium grain rice as opposed to a short grain rice, but it's called sushi rice here. This is the rice that's used to make sushi. If you go to a Japanese market or H Mart, they have a large variety of Japanese rices, of sushi rice. So that's what you can find. But this you will find in Stop and Shop in the Asian section in a little like 1 or 2 pound bag. So you definitely should be able to do that.
So it was sushi rice that we were supposed to.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly. Short grain or medium grain rice is what we call here sushi rice.
And by the way, I already ate the eggs and they were delicious. It didn't have to be, I mean, we just had them in there like for 20 minutes and they were really good. The sauce was really good.
I'm glad. You can imagine how much better they'd be the next day, but they're great. And taste the cauliflower. It's going to be really good too. It's like if you're eating it now and then, you'll have it in the refrigerator for that.
As people are dropping off, I just wanted to mention the link that I just put in the chat is a survey that if you filled it out, it would be very helpful for Deb to continue to develop future cooking programs, get a sense of what you guys enjoyed and what you might want to see more of. So that's an optional survey there. I also wanted to mention that this is a monthly program that's hosted by different Japan America societies around the US every month. So next month is going to be on December 22nd. The Japan Society of Georgia is going to be making matcha mochi cupcakes, a matcha latte, and origami box that you can use for small gifts. So it's kind of a holiday winter themed one. It is not ready yet for registration, but on our website and on their website as well, when it is ready, you'll be able to register, and we hope to see you at future Ouchigohans. Apparently, according to Alexis, the Beyond Beef worked really well in the recipe, so that's another success.
That's very good to know. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for sticking with us. Otsukare-sama deshita, which means thank you for your exhaustion, which is what you must be after making. And enjoy your meal for the rest of the week. Okay. Sayonara. Bye, everybody. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Thank
so
Thank you very much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sayonara.
That was excellent.
Thank you. Yay.
Bye.
Thank you.